I'm going to argue in favor of non-Turing complete programming languages for cryptocurrency. This is going to be based on my subjective experience as a software developer. So other software developers' opinions may differ based on their abilities and experience developing software. I mean, I think most developers, their opinion on this is going to be different depending on their experience in software development. So, what does Turing complete mean? The gist of Turing completedness means is that you're basically using symbols for functionality. So basically, we can create if statements, conditional statements, and loops. So the advantage of having a Turing complete programming language is that we can perform the same task theoretically an infinite amount of times, a million times, a billion times, and that is more efficient in terms of size of the code. So instead of writing in the code the function say 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, by having a loop or conditional statements, the code is smaller. So the code itself takes up less memory resources. However, the downside of having a Turing complete programming language is that while the code might be smaller and it might be more efficient that way, executing the code might take up more resources and memory and energy. So in the long run, it becomes more energy efficient. So with Turing complete languages are quite convenient, and Turing complete programming languages are probably the most popular programming languages out there. And for example, I use JavaScript, which is Turing complete, and I can work on JavaScript based, not just because JavaScript is the most popular language, but there's other programming languages that are based on JavaScript, which means that it's very easy for me to learn how to use them very quickly. And it just means that when you have a Turing complete language, the chances of you finding a developer work on it is larger. Whereas when you have non-Turing complete, you have a shorter range of developers that you can find that can work on your project. But the advantage of being non-Turing complete, that even though maybe the code might be longer and might be complicated, more complicated and might be harder, executing the program may be more efficient in terms of taking up resources, energy, and memory. So this is why, when it comes to financial products and running, like say, servers or machines that really need to save every single bit of space they possibly can, we prefer to use non-Turing complete languages. But as I said, Turing complete programming languages are the most popular for the main reason is that they're easy to learn. And the second reason is, I mean, if you've got a web app or something like that, it being a split second off is not a huge problem. Whereas if you're trying to make a financial product involves trading or something like that, you want to have exact pinpoint accuracy. So how can we look at this in the cryptocurrency world? Well, okay, so Bitcoin is non-Turing complete and Ethereum is Turing complete. So the advantage that this gives Ethereum is that if you want to make a cryptocurrency and you want to do interesting things, developing it on Ethereum is really convenient, and I can launch a Ethereum smart contract, whatever, like you can do it within an hour. I mean, it's easy to do, which is why Ethereum is one of the most popular cryptocurrencies out there, and why a lot of developers really like it, because Solidity is looks a lot like JavaScript, and you can I've made whatever. You can make all sorts of interesting things out of it. You can make simple things out of it. It's really easy to learn, really easy to use. That's why it's so convenient. Uh, Bitcoin, on the other hand, it does use C++, which is technically it is a Turing complete language, but it doesn't have. It's not as easy to use, and Bitcoin itself doesn't loop anything. So even though when we're using Bitcoin and we're doing transactions, it just executes transaction once. It doesn't loop anything. There's when you're using Bitcoin itself, there's no loops. So the end result of this experiment of having a non-Turing complete cryptocurrency like Bitcoin versus Turing complete cryptocurrency like Ethereum is that Ethereum has crashed. The system itself, not talking about the markets crash once a month, but the programming itself has been faulty, has been seen as faulty a number of times. Sometimes that has been the fault of the Ethereum developers themselves, where people have exploited flaws in the programming language, and last year the DAO attack, and this year there was the Parity wallet fiasco where $350 million worth was lost, not stolen, lost because someone was taking actually didn't take advantage. They accidentally exploited this loop. They wouldn't even do it maliciously. They did it by mistake. Destroyed $350 million worth out of the economy. While that particular issue may have not been the fault of the Ethereum developers themselves because they didn't cause the problem, however, it just kind of shows that having a simple language to develop large, complicated financial systems with multiples of millions of dollars worth, and in the future it's going to be billions and trillions. Having Turing complete is going to we've seen already open to hackers and just people just screwing up the code. Whereas Bitcoin has all these problems with transaction fees and being slow. The Bitcoin network has never been broken. It hasn't stopped working. It needs to be continuously upgraded, but no one's hacked Bitcoin. Ethereum has been hacked. So, if I was going to develop a cryptocurrency, and it looks like I will be working on a cryptocurrency project somewhere this year, inshallah, using a Turing complete language like Ethereum, and I assume Neo is also Turing complete, will be convenient for me because it'll be easy to do. It'll be easy to do. But if you want to build the next Bitcoin or the next technology to replace the app, if you want to make an app that's fun to use, quick and easy, then use Turing complete, use Ethereum Solidity and those kind of products. But if you want to build the next best thing to compete with the financial system, to compete with Bitcoin, then you would have to use C++. I'm saying C++, but it'll have to be non-Turing complete, so we don't run the risk of it being hacked or being destroyed or lost. Because if we can't have, if we're going to have tens or hundreds of trillions of dollars worth going through a financial system, there can't be a mistake. There can't be a mistake. And with Bitcoin, so far, there's been no mistakes. With Ethereum, there has been mistakes. So how can we use both the, let's say, what I would call the efficiency of being non-Turing complete with the convenience of having a language that is easy to read and lots of developers can work on it, like a Turing complete language? Well, while Bitcoin is non-Turing complete itself, we can use JavaScript libraries which are Turing complete to make apps that interact with the blockchain. So it won't. So if there's a problem with the app that we're making with JavaScript, the app itself will break, but the Bitcoin network won't break because of there's some kind of fault in the loop that we've created. So that way the Bitcoin network is protected, but we can still create loops and interesting apps with JavaScript that interact with the Bitcoin blockchain, which of course I know what to do because I'm amazing. And so, and obviously, lots of people obviously do that, and that is a more secure way of making blockchain apps. Do we really need to make a new blockchain or cryptocurrency for every single app out there? My answer is no. We can use the simple Turing complete languages to make apps, and they interact with the complex blockchains that are non-Turing complete, so we don't end up destroying the new financial system that we have just created. So this is why I am really excited about waves. If anyone who watched this channel a year ago, big fan of waves a long time, now I'm an even bigger fan now that I realize that they're going in spring, I mean it could be late, but hopefully spring, they're going to have smart contracts that are non-Turing complete. So again, these smart contracts don't exist yet, but they will exist in a few months, which could make Waves the next Ethereum, and will be a very good competitor with Ethereum. Why? Is because if you have a Waves smart contract, which is non-Turing complete, versus a Ethereum contract, which is Turing complete, the Waves smart contract is theoretically more stable, less likely to be able to be hacked, and would be more appropriate for developing a large-scale financial blockchain with the Waves platform and not Ethereum, just because it doesn't have loops. And like what I said earlier about combining non-Turing complete programming languages with Turing complete programming languages, so the Wave platform does already. I'm very happy to see. I only realized it today that the languages that the Wave platform uses, they're computer languages. I know, sweet. Um, anyway, so recap: Turing complete is simple and helps us make interesting apps loops, but it's energy efficient. It being non-Turing complete is more energy efficient, and we're more secure and protected against hacks. So, if I was going to buy and hodl cryptocurrency for say 10 years, I would bet long term the cryptocurrencies that are non-Turing complete, because they won't get hacked and they will not break. Whereas the majority of cryptocurrencies are faulty and they're nowhere as well designed as, say, Bitcoin and Waves is. Live free or die trying.